Imagine meeting the love of your life again after years of silence, only to discover she doesn't remember you exist. Emily Carter thought she'd buried that chapter of her heart forever until she walked into her daughter's classroom and saw her. Alexandra Rivera, the woman who vanished without a trace, now standing there as if nothing had happened. Before we dive into this emotional roller coaster, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The school hallway buzzed with first day energy. Emily's hand trembled as she reached for the classroom door. I gripped Laya's tiny hand tighter as we walked down the elementary school hallway. First day jitters. Mine, not hers. She was practically bouncing with excitement. "Mommy, do you think my new teacher will be nice?" Laya asked, her backpack almost bigger than her 7-year-old frame. "I'm sure she will be, sweetheart." My voice came out steadier than I felt. We stopped at room 12B. The door was decorated with colorful welcome signs and autumn leaves. Through the window, I could see parents chatting with a woman whose back was turned to us. I pushed the door open. The woman turned around. My world stopped. Alexandra Rivera stood there in a navy blazer and white blouse. Her dark hair pulled back in a low bun. Those same green eyes that used to look at me like I was her entire universe. The same smile that once whispered promises in the dark. But now those eyes looked right through me. "Good morning. You must be Laya," Alex said, crouching down to my daughter's level. "I'm Miss Rivera, your new teacher." My throat closed up. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process that she was here really talking to my daughter like we were strangers. Alex stood up, extending her hand to me with a polite, professional smile. The same hand that used to trace patterns on my skin, the same fingers that once promised never to leave. "Emily," I managed to whisper. "Emily Carter." She shook my hand briefly. No recognition, no spark, nothing. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Carter." Laya seems like a delightful little girl. "Mrs. Carter." The name hit like a slap. She didn't know, she didn't remember, or she was pretending not to. It's Miss Carter," I corrected, my voice barely audible. "Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Carter." Alex smiled apologetically, then turned back to Laya. "Would you like to see where you'll be sitting?" I watched them walk away. Alex's hand gently guiding my daughter to a desk near the window. The same gentle touch, I remembered. The same careful way she moved. Other parents chatted around me, but their voices sounded underwater. My heart hammered against my ribs so hard I thought it might break through. How is this possible? Alex had vanished 5 years ago. No goodbye, no explanation, just gone, like she'd never existed. I'd searched everywhere, called everyone we knew, nothing. And now she was here teaching my daughter, acting like we'd never shared a bed, never whispered "I love you" in the darkness, never planned a future together. "Mommy." Laya appeared at my side, tugging my sleeve. "Miss Rivera says you can go now. She'll take good care of me." I looked up to find Alex watching me with a slight frown, like she was trying to solve a puzzle. "Are you feeling all right, Miss Carter? You look a bit pale. Do you really not remember me?" "I'm fine," I lied. "Just first day nerves." Alex nodded, but her eyes lingered on my face for a moment longer than necessary. I knelt down and hugged Laya tight, breathing in her strawberry shampoo scent to ground myself. "Have a wonderful day, baby. I'll pick you up at 3. "Bye, Mommy." I stood up slowly. Alex was still watching me, that puzzled expression deepening. "It's really you," I whispered, so quietly I wasn't sure she heard, but she did. I saw her stiffen, saw something flicker across her face. Confusion, maybe recognition, maybe fear. "I'm sorry?" she asked. I shook my head quickly. "Nothing. I just thank you for taking care of her." I turned and walked toward the door on unsteady legs, feeling Alex's eyes burning into my back. In the hallway, I pressed myself against the wall and tried to catch my breath. Parents streamed past me, chatting about carpools and after-school activities, completely oblivious to the fact that my world had just imploded. She doesn't remember me. The thought hit like a physical blow. 5 years of wondering, of hoping, of grieving what we'd lost, and she looked at me like I was nobody. But there had been something in her eyes when I whispered those words. A flicker of something. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and stared at the screen, not really seeing it. What was I supposed to do now? Pretend this was normal? Pretend my heart wasn't breaking all over again? Through the classroom window, I could see Alex helping Laya hang up her backpack. She was gentle with her, patient, the same way she used to be with me. Why don't you remember me, Alex? What happened to you? But even as I asked the question, a darker thought crept in. What if she did remember? What if she was pretending not to know me for a reason? What if she'd left because she wanted to leave? The morning flew by in a blur of introductions and classroom rules, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. That woman, Emily Carter. There was something about her that made my chest tight. The way she'd looked at me, like she was seeing a ghost. And those words she'd whispered, "It's really you." Like she knew me. But I'd never seen her before in my life. I was sure of it, wasn't I? During lunch break, I sat at my desk, grading papers. But Emily's face kept floating through my mind. Brown hair that caught the light, warm hazel eyes that seemed to hold secrets, and the way she'd gone pale when she saw me. Miss Rivera. I looked up to find Laya standing beside my desk, her lunchbox in hand. "Yes, sweetheart. My mommy seemed sad when she left. Do you know why?" The innocent question hit me like a punch to the gut. "Why would I know why your mother was sad? Sometimes grown-ups get nervous about new things," I said carefully. "I'm sure she's just worried about you starting at a new school." Laya nodded solemnly. "Mommy worries a lot. She says it's her job." "That sounds like a good mommy." "She is. She takes care of me all by herself. She says my daddy went to heaven before I was born, so it's just us two." Something twisted in my chest. A single mother raising her daughter alone. There was something achingly familiar about that story, though I couldn't place why. "That must make you very special to her," I said. "Yeah, she tells me I'm her whole world." Laya smiled. "Can I eat lunch at my desk today? I want to organize my supplies." "Of course." I watched her settle at her desk, carefully arranging her crayons by color. She had her mother's eyes. I realized the same warm hazel that seemed to see right through you. Emily. The name echoed in my head like a song I'd heard before but couldn't quite remember. I tried to place it, tried to think of where I might have met her, but came up empty. Maybe she was just one of those people with a familiar face. It happens sometimes, but as the afternoon wore on, the feeling only got stronger. Every time I looked at Laya, I saw Emily's eyes staring back at me, and every time I thought about Emily's whispered words, my heart started racing for no reason I could understand. At 3, parents began arriving for pickup. I stood by the door, saying goodbye to each child, but my eyes kept scanning the hallway for a glimpse of brown hair. She appeared at exactly 3:05, looking more composed than she had that morning, but still pale. She wore jeans and a soft blue sweater that brought out her eyes. Stopped noticing her eyes. "Mommy." Laya ran to her, backpack bouncing. Emily caught her in a fierce hug, and I saw her close her eyes like she was savoring the moment. "How was your first day, baby?" "Amazing. Miss Rivera is the best teacher ever. She let me organize my crayons, and she knows all about butterflies, and she said my drawing was beautiful." Emily's eyes met mine over Laya's head. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. Miss Rivera, can you tell my mommy about the butterfly project?" I walked over, trying to ignore the way Emily tensed as I approached. "We're starting a unit on metamorphosis next week. The children will each adopt a caterpillar and watch it transform into a butterfly." "That sounds educational," Emily said, but her voice was strained. "Isn't that cool, Mommy? Miss Rivera says change can be beautiful." Emily's breath caught. "Yes," she whispered. "Sometimes it can be." Our eyes locked, and for a moment the world went quiet. There was something in her gaze. Pain, longing, recognition. Like she was trying to tell me something without words. My chest tightened. My hands started to shake. "What is happening to me?" "We should go," Emily said suddenly, taking Laya's hand. "Thank you, Miss Rivera." "Wait," I called out before I could stop myself. They both turned back. Have we met before? You seem familiar." Emily's face went white. For a long moment, she just stared at me, and I saw tears gathering in her eyes. "No," she said finally. "We haven't met." But the way she said it, like the words were being torn from her throat, told me she was lying. "Mommy, are you okay?" Laya asked, tugging on her mother's hand. "I'm fine, baby, let's go home." I watched them walk away, Emily's shoulders rigid with tension. At the end of the hallway, she turned back once, and the look she gave me was so full of heartbreak that I had to grip the doorframe to stay upright. "What aren't you telling me, Emily Carter?" That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her name playing on repeat in my mind. Emily, Emily, Emily. Why did it feel like coming home? I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Alex's face. The way she'd looked at me with that puzzled expression, like she was trying to remember something just out of reach. Have we met before? The question haunted me. Because yes, we had met. We'd done so much more than meet. The next morning, after dropping Laya at school and carefully avoiding eye contact with Alex, I found myself standing in front of my bedroom closet, staring at a shoebox I hadn't opened in 5 years. My hands shook as I pulled it down from the top shelf. Inside were the remnants of the life I'd tried to forget. Photos, letters, ticket stubs from movies we'd seen together. All the proof that Alexandra Rivera and I had once been everything to each other. I picked up the first photo with trembling fingers. Alex and me at the beach, her arms wrapped around me from behind, both of us laughing at something I couldn't remember. We looked so young, so happy, so sure that nothing could tear us apart. How wrong we were. The next photo showed us at a coffee shop, Alex's hand covering mine on the table. She was looking at me like I was the most precious thing in the world. I remembered that day. She just told me she loved me for the first time. I've never felt this way about anyone. She'd whispered, "You're it for me, Em. You're my forever." Forever had lasted 8 months. I found the letter she'd written me for my birthday. Her handwriting still achingly familiar. "My dearest Emily, you asked me once what I see when I look at you. I see home. I see the future I never dared to dream of. I see the woman I want to wake up next to for the rest of my life. I know we have to be careful that the world isn't ready for us yet. But I promise you, one day we won't have to hide. One day we'll have everything we want. All my love, Alex." The paper was stained with old tears, mine from the night I'd read it and fresh ones falling now. One day, we won't have to hide. But we'd never gotten that day. Instead, Alex had vanished without a trace, leaving me pregnant and alone. I touched my stomach unconsciously, remembering those terrifying weeks after she disappeared. The positive pregnancy test, the desperate phone calls to numbers that had been disconnected, the slow, crushing realization that she was really gone. Laya didn't know the truth about her father. How could I tell her that her other parent was a woman who'd abandoned us both? I pulled out the last item in the box, a small velvet jewelry case. Inside was the promise ring Alex had given me, a simple silver band with our initials engraved inside, E and A forever. I'd worn it every day until Laya was born. Then I'd put it away along with all my dreams of the life we'd planned together. But now Alex was back, and she didn't remember any of it. Not our first kiss in the rain, not the nights we'd spent planning our future, not the morning I'd woken up to find her side of the bed cold and empty. What happened to you, Alex? What made you forget us? My phone buzzed with a text from my sister Sarah. How did the first day go? Is Laya's teacher nice? I stared at the message, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. How could I explain that Laya's teacher was the woman who'd broken my heart, the woman I'd never stopped loving despite everything? "She's fine," I typed back. "Everything's fine." But nothing was fine. Nothing had been fine since the moment Alex walked out of my life. And nothing would be fine until I understood why. I looked at the photos scattered across my bed, at the evidence of a love that had once felt unbreakable. Alex might not remember us, but I remembered everything. Every touch, every whispered promise, every moment of perfect happiness before it all fell apart. And now she was here teaching my daughter, looking at me like a stranger, our daughter. The thought hit me like lightning. What if Alex remembered? What if she put the pieces together? What if she realized that Laya... No, I couldn't think about that. Not yet. I gathered the photos and letters, shoving them back into the box with shaking hands. Some secrets were too dangerous to unearth. Some truths were too painful to face. But as I put the box back on the shelf, I kept the ring. I slipped it into my pocket, a small piece of the past I wasn't ready to let go of. I loved you so much, Alex. I still do. And that was the most dangerous truth of all. I'd been teaching for 6 years, but I'd never felt the need to do a home visit this early in the school year. Usually, I waited until parent-teacher conferences or if there was a specific concern about a student. But I couldn't stop thinking about Emily Carter. It had been 3 days since our first meeting, and every interaction since had left me more confused. She watched me with this intensity that made my skin prickle, like she was waiting for me to remember something important. And Laya, there was something about that little girl that tugged at my heart in a way I couldn't explain. So, here I was standing on the porch of a small blue house on Maple Street, telling myself this was about getting to know my students better. Liar, Emily opened the door wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweater, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked younger like this, more vulnerable. And when she saw me, her face went through a series of emotions I couldn't read. "Miss Rivera, is everything okay? Is Laya?" "Laya's fine," I said quickly. "I'm sorry to drop by unannounced. I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd stop by to see how she's settling in. I like to check on my students during their first week." It was a weak excuse, and we both knew it. Emily hesitated, then stepped aside. "Of course, come in." The house was small, but warm, filled with photos of Emily and Laya at various ages. I found myself studying them as Emily led me to the living room, looking for clues I couldn't name. "Can I get you some coffee? Tea?" "Coffee would be great, thank you." She disappeared into the kitchen, and I took the opportunity to look around more carefully. The furniture was secondhand, but well cared for. Children's books were stacked on every surface. Laya's artwork covered the refrigerator. It felt like a home built by love and determination. "Mommy, who's here?" Laya's voice drifted down from upstairs. "Miss Rivera came to visit," Emily called back. "Really?" I heard footsteps thundering down the stairs, and then Laya appeared in the doorway, grinning. "Hi, Miss Rivera. Do you want to see my room?" "Maybe later, sweetheart," Emily said, returning with 2 mugs of coffee. "Miss Rivera is here to talk to me about school." Laya popped down on the couch next to me, completely at ease. "Miss Rivera, did you know my mommy is the best cook in the whole world?" "Is she?" I smiled, accepting the coffee from Emily. Our fingers brushed as she handed me the mug, and I felt a jolt of electricity that made me nearly drop it. Emily jerked her hand back like she'd been burned. "Laya, why don't you go work on your homework?" Emily suggested, her voice tight. "But I want to talk to Miss Rivera." "Homework now." Something in Emily's tone brooked no argument. Laya sighed dramatically, but headed upstairs. We sat in silence for a moment, the air thick with tension. I didn't understand. "She's a wonderful child," I said finally. "Bright, creative, kind to her classmates." "Thank you." Emily's hands wrapped around her mug like she was trying to warm herself. She's everything to me. It must be hard raising her alone." Emily's eyes snapped to mine. "What makes you think I'm alone?" Laya mentioned her father passed away before she was born. "I just meant right." "Yes." Emily looked away. "It's just been the 2 of us." There was something in her voice, a carefully controlled pain that made my chest ache. "You're doing an amazing job," I said softly. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw tears gathering in her eyes. "Am I?" she whispered. "Sometimes I feel like I'm failing her, like she deserves better than what I can give her." "Emily." Her name slipped out before I could stop it, and we both froze. Why did that feel so natural? "I should go," I said, standing abruptly. The coffee mug slipped from my hands, shattering on the hardwood floor. "Oh God, I'm so sorry." I dropped to my knees, trying to gather the pieces. "Don't," Emily said, kneeling beside me. "You'll cut yourself." Our faces were inches apart. I could see flecks of gold in her hazel eyes, could smell her perfume, something light and floral that seemed achingly familiar. "Have I smelled this before?" "Emily," I breathed. And this time, her name felt like coming home. She reached out like she was going to touch my face, then stopped herself. "You should go," she whispered, but neither of us moved. We stayed there on the floor, surrounded by broken ceramic, staring at each other like we were trying to solve the same impossible puzzle. "I know you," I said suddenly. "I don't know how, but I know you." Emily's breath caught. "Alex. Alex. Not Miss Rivera." The sound of my nickname in her voice sent shockwaves through my system. Images flashed through my mind, fragments of dreams I'd been having for years. Brown hair spread across a pillow, soft hands tracing patterns on my skin, a voice whispering my name in the darkness. What is happening to me? "I have to go," I said, scrambling to my feet. Emily stood too, her face pale. "Alex, wait." But I was already at the door, my heart hammering against my ribs. I felt like I was drowning, like the walls were closing in. "Tell Laya I said goodbye." I managed, then fled to my car. I sat in the driveway for 10 minutes trying to catch my breath. Through the window, I could see Emily's silhouette standing perfectly still. "What aren't you telling me, Emily Carter? And why does it feel like my life depends on remembering?" I couldn't sleep after Alex left. I kept replaying the moment on the floor, the way she'd looked at me like she was starting to remember, the way she'd said my name. I know you. She was so close to the truth, and that terrified me more than anything. The next morning, I called in sick to work and asked my neighbor to watch Leia after school. There was something I had to do, someone I had to see. Dr. Patricia Hendricks had been Alex's therapist 5 years ago. She was also the only person who knew the real reason Alex had disappeared. Her office was in a converted Victorian house downtown, the same place where I'd sat in the waiting room so many times, hoping for news about Alex's condition. "Emily?" Dr. Hendricks smiled as I entered her office. "I wasn't expecting to see you again." "Alex is back," I said without preamble. "She's teaching at Leia's school." The color drained from Dr. Hendricks's face. "That's unexpected. She doesn't remember me. She doesn't remember anything about us." Dr. Hendricks was quiet for a long moment, her fingers steepled under her chin. "Emily, you know I can't discuss Alex's case with you. Patient confidentiality." "She's starting to remember," I interrupted, "little pieces. And when she does remember everything, when she realizes that Leia is..." My voice broke. "I need to know if she's safe, if we're safe." "Doctor." Hendricks sighed heavily. "Sit down, Emily." I perched on the edge of the familiar leather chair, my hands clenched in my lap. "What I'm about to tell you doesn't leave this room," she said. "And I'm only telling you because I believe you and Leia could be in danger if Alex's memories returned suddenly." My blood turned to ice. "What kind of danger? Do you remember Alex's father?" "How could I forget?" "Robert Rivera, the prominent businessman who'd built his empire on conservative values and traditional family structures. The man who'd threatened to destroy Alex's career, her reputation, her entire life if she didn't end our relationship. He found out about you too," Dr. Hendricks continued, "about the pregnancy." My hands flew to my stomach. "How?" "He'd been having Alex followed. He had photos, recordings, evidence of your relationship. He threatened to expose everything unless Alex disappeared completely." The room spun around me, but Alex didn't know I was pregnant when she left. I hadn't told her yet. "No, but he knew. And he made it clear that if Alex ever tried to contact you or the baby, he would destroy both of your lives. He had the power to do it, Emily. You know he did." I remembered Robert Rivera's cold eyes, his calculating smile, the way he'd looked at me the one time we'd met, like I was something dirty he wanted to scrape off his shoe. So, Alex agreed to leave. She was hospitalized after a breakdown, severe depression, anxiety, dissociative episodes. Her father convinced her that the stress of hiding your relationship was destroying her mental health. He arranged for experimental treatment, memory suppression therapy. My heart stopped. Memory suppression? It's controversial, rarely used. The idea is to block traumatic memories to allow the patient to heal. But in Alex's case, Dr. Hendricks shook her head. Her father convinced the doctors that her relationship with you was the trauma that needed to be erased. "You let them erase me." The words came out as a whisper. "I fought it, Emily. I tried to stop it. But Robert Rivera had money, influence, the best lawyers, and Alex. She was so broken by then. She agreed to the treatment because she thought it would make the pain stop." I doubled over, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. They'd stolen our love. They'd stolen our memories. They'd stolen our chance to be a family. Where has she been all these years? Rehabilitation, therapy, rebuilding her life with no memory of what she'd lost. Her father moved her across the country, gave her a new identity, a fresh start. She became Alexandra Rivera again instead of the Alex you knew. And now she's back, which means something went wrong. Either the treatment is wearing off or, "Doctor," Hendricks paused, or, "her father is dead." I looked up sharply. "What?" "Robert Rivera died 6 months ago. Heart attack. If Alex was being monitored, controlled, his death might have freed her to live where she wanted. And she came back here. Subconsciously, she might be drawn to places and people from her suppressed memories. That's why seeing you is triggering fragments to return." I thought about the way Alex had looked at me, the confusion in her eyes, the way she'd said my name like it meant something. What happens when she remembers everything? Dr. Hendricks was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know, Emily. The human mind isn't meant to have memories suppressed like that. When they return, and they will return, it could be overwhelming, traumatic. She might not be able to handle the truth about what was done to her and Leia. If Alex realizes Leia is her daughter, Emily, you need to be prepared for any reaction. Joy, anger, devastation. She might want to be part of Laya's life, or she might run again. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of 5 years of secrets crushing down on me. What should I do? Be careful, be patient, and maybe start preparing Laya for the possibility that her family is about to get more complicated. I left Dr. Hendrix's office feeling like I was walking through a minefield. Every step could trigger an explosion that would destroy the fragile life I'd built for my daughter, our daughter. Alex deserved to know the truth. But did I have the right to shatter the peace she'd found? Did I have the right to risk Laya's stability for a love that had been stolen from us? As I drove home, I made a decision that would change everything. It was time to tell Alex who she really was. The dreams were getting stronger. Every night for the past week, I'd been having the same fragmented visions. A woman with brown hair laughing in sunlight, hands intertwined on a coffee shop table, a voice saying, "I love you," in the darkness. And always, the overwhelming sense that I'd lost something precious. I woke up Saturday morning with tears on my cheeks and Emily Carter's name on my lips. This is insane. I'd never experienced anything like this before. The rational part of my mind said I was having some kind of breakdown, that the stress of a new job was manifesting in strange ways. But my heart knew better. I knew Emily somehow, somewhere I knew her, and I was going to find out how. I spent the morning researching memory loss, dissociative disorders, anything that might explain what was happening to me. What I found made my blood run cold. Memory suppression therapy, experimental treatments designed to block traumatic memories. The articles I read described patients who'd lost years of their lives, relationships erased like they'd never existed. Could that have happened to me? I tried to remember my life before moving here 6 months ago. But everything was hazy. I remembered therapy, doctors telling me I was recovering from a breakdown. I remembered my father visiting, always encouraging me to move forward and let go of the past. But what past? What was I supposed to let go of? My phone rang, interrupting my spiraling thoughts. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize. "Hello, Miss Rivera. This is Emily Carter. I was wondering, could we meet? There's something I need to tell you." My heart started racing. About Laya, about everything. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop downtown while Leia was at her friend's birthday party. I arrived early, choosing a corner table where we could talk privately. Emily walked in 10 minutes later, looking pale and determined. She wore a simple black dress and carried a manila envelope that she clutched like a lifeline. "Thank you for coming," she said, sitting across from me. "Emily, what's going on? You've been acting strange since the first day we met. And My name is Emily Carter," she interrupted. "I'm 32 years old. I work as a graphic designer. I live at 847 Maple Street with my 7-year-old daughter, Laya." I frowned. "I know all that. Laya's birthday is March 15th. She loves butterflies, strawberry ice cream, and bedtime stories. She's afraid of thunderstorms, but brave about everything else." Emily's voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. "She asks about her other parents sometimes. I've always told her that her father died before she was born. Emily, but that's not true." She opened the envelope and pulled out a photograph, sliding it across the table. "Laya doesn't have a father. She has 2 mothers." I looked down at the photo and felt the world tilt sideways. It was me, younger, happier, with my arms wrapped around Emily from behind. We were both laughing, both glowing with obvious love. And Emily was pregnant. "I don't understand," I whispered. "Your name is Alexandra Rivera, but I called you Alex. We met 3 years ago at a bookstore. You were reading poetry in the corner, and I thought you were the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen." More photos. Us at dinner, at the beach, in bed with our foreheads touching. In every single one, we looked like we belonged together. "We fell in love," Emily continued, her voice breaking fast and hard and completely. "We talked about getting married, about having children, about building a life together. This isn't possible," I said. But even as I spoke, memories were stirring. The scent of Emily's perfume, the sound of her laugh, the way she used to trace patterns on my skin while we talked about our dreams. "You gave me this." Emily pulled a silver ring from her pocket, the same ring I'd been dreaming about for months. "You said it was a promise that we'd have forever." I reached for the ring with trembling fingers. The moment I touched it, the floodgates opened. "I love you, Em. You're my whole world. Promise me we'll always be together. I want to have babies with you. I want everything with you." The memories crashed over me like a tsunami. Our first kiss in the rain. The night we decided to try for a baby. The morning I'd woken up planning to propose only to find my father waiting in the living room with 2 men in suits. "This ends now, Alexandra. You'll come with us or we'll destroy her life and the life of that bastard child she's carrying." "Oh God," I gasped, doubling over as the full weight of what had been done to us hit me. "Oh God, Emily, what did they do to us?" "They took you away," Emily whispered, tears streaming down her face. "They made you forget. They made you forget us. Forget Laya. Forget everything we had." "Leia?" I looked up at her with new eyes. "She's mine. She's ours." Emily nodded. "She has your eyes, your stubborn streak, your love of learning." I thought about the little girl who'd captured my heart from the first day. The way she'd felt familiar in a way I couldn't explain. "My daughter, our daughter. I have to see her," I said, standing abruptly. "I have to." "Alex, wait." Emily caught my hand. "She doesn't. She thinks her father is dead, if you tell her now without preparing her. But she's my daughter." The words felt foreign and perfect on my tongue. "She's my little girl and I've missed 7 years of her life." "I know and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But we have to be careful. We have to think about what's best for her." I sank back into my chair, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what I'd lost. 7 years. 7 years of bedtime stories and scraped knees and first days of school. 7 years of watching my daughter grow up. "Do you hate me?" Emily asked quietly. "Hate you?" I looked at her in shock. "Emily, you're the victim here. They stole our memories, our relationship, our chance to be a family. If anything, I should be asking if you can ever forgive me for leaving." "You didn't leave," she said fiercely. "You were taken. There's a difference." We sat in silence for a moment, both of us crying, both of us trying to process the enormity of what we'd learned. "What happens now?" I asked. Emily wiped her eyes. "I don't know, but I think we figure it out together." I reached across the table and took her hand. The same hand I'd held 1,000 times before. It felt like coming home. "I want to remember everything," I said. "Every moment, every day, every second of what we had. We will," Emily promised. "We have time now. We have the rest of our lives. The rest of our lives." It sounded like the most beautiful promise in the world. 3 weeks later, I stood in Emily's kitchen making pancakes while she and Laya set the table for Sunday breakfast. It was a scene so domestic, so perfectly normal, that it was hard to believe how we'd gotten here. We'd taken it slow with Laya. First, I'd started visiting as Mommy's friend, then as someone very special to our family. Finally, last weekend, Emily and I had sat her down and told her the truth, that I was her other parent, the one she'd been told had died. "So, you're like my daddy, but you're a mommy too?" Laya had asked, processing the information with the remarkable adaptability of children. "Something like that," I'd said, my heart breaking and healing at the same time. "Cool," she declared. "Can I call you Mama Alex?" And just like that, I had my daughter back. "Mama Alex, the pancakes are burning," Laya announced from the dining room. "No, they're not, you little troublemaker," I called back, flipping a perfect golden pancake. Emily appeared beside me, sliding her arms around my waist from behind. "She's right, you know. You always were terrible at multitasking in the kitchen." "I was not," I protested, leaning back into her warmth. "Remember the time you tried to make me birthday dinner and set off the smoke alarm 3 times? The memory came flooding back. Me frantically, waving a dish towel at the smoke detector while Emily laughed so hard she cried. It was one of thousands of memories that had returned over the past few weeks. Each one a gift I'd thought was lost forever. "That was different," I said. "I was nervous because I was planning to propose that night." Emily went still behind me. "You were?" I turned in her arms, suddenly nervous. "I had this whole plan. Dinner, candles, your favorite wine. I was going to get down on one knee during dessert." "What stopped you?" "The smoke alarm," I said, and we both started laughing. "Mama, Alex, Mommy, the pancakes are definitely burning now," Leia's voice carried from the other room. We rushed to save breakfast, working together with the easy synchronization of people who'd done this dance before, even if we couldn't remember it. Later, after Laya had gone to play in the backyard, Emily and I sat on the porch swing, watching our daughter chase butterflies in the garden. "I have something for you," I said, pulling a small velvet box from my pocket. Emily's eyes widened. "Alex, I know it's crazy. I know we're still figuring things out, still rebuilding what we lost. But Emily, I've loved you for 8 years. Even when I couldn't remember your name. Even when they tried to erase you from my mind, my heart knew you were missing. I opened the box, revealing a simple diamond ring. I bought this the day before my father took me away. I've been carrying it around for 3 weeks, waiting for the right moment. Emily's hands flew to her mouth, tears streaming down her cheeks. I don't need time to remember how much I love you, I continued. I don't need to rebuild feelings that never went away, Emily Carter. Will you marry me? Will you let me be the parent I should have been to Laya? Will you give us the forever we were promised? Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes, yes, 1,000 times. Yes. I slipped the ring onto her finger. The same finger that had worn my promise ring all those years ago. It fit perfectly, like it had been waiting for this moment. Mama Alex, look what I caught. We looked up to see Laya running toward us, cupping something carefully in her hands. What is it, baby? Emily asked. Laya opened her palms to reveal a butterfly, its wings a brilliant orange and black. It's a monarch, she said proudly. Miss Johnson at school says they migrate thousands of miles to find their home. Even when they get lost, they always find their way back. Emily and I exchanged a look over our daughter's head. Sometimes the universe had a sense of humor. That's right, sweetheart, I said gently, helping Laya release the butterfly. Sometimes it takes a long time, and sometimes the journey is hard, but love always finds a way home. We watched the butterfly soar away, carrying our wishes with it. 6 months later, we stood in Emily's backyard. Our backyard, surrounded by friends and family, exchanging vows under a canopy of white flowers. Laya stood beside us as our flower girl and ring bearer, beaming with pride at her 2 moms. I promise to love you through every memory and every moment yet to come, I said, sliding a wedding band onto Emily's finger. I promise to be the partner you deserved then, and the one you need now. I promise to never let anyone take you away from us again, Emily replied, her voice strong and clear. I promise to love you with everything I am for all the days of our lives. When we kissed, sealing our second chance at forever, I heard Laya cheer and felt the last broken piece of my heart click into place. We'd lost 5 years, but we had the rest of our lives to make up for them. We had Sunday morning pancakes and bedtime stories and butterfly gardens. We had a daughter who called us both mom and meant it with her whole heart. We had everything we'd ever dreamed of. And this time, no one could take it away. As we danced our first dance as a married couple, Emily whispered in my ear, "Welcome home, Alex." And I knew with absolute certainty that I was exactly where I belonged. Sometimes love is stronger than memory. Sometimes the heart remembers what the mind forgets. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you get a second chance at the life you were meant to live. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that prove love always finds a way. And let me know in the comments, do you believe in second chances? Your support means everything to us.